Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 5th November 2020, and in this video we'll be discussing these two issues. The first article is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Fixing the Rules of Economy. So basically this article talks about the debate between the capitalist choice of going for automation and the demand of the workers, that is to create certain minimum rights to ensure that they have a safe livelihood. So in an age of automation, the rights of workers is taking a backseat. In order to ensure the productivity of an economy, what should be done is the focus of this article. Now when we're talking about productivity, we have to understand that there are certain factors of production. Factors of production include land, labor, capital, amongst others. Labor or human resources, as we see it, are the only asset, according to the writer, where as they age, they get appreciated. Of course, land is also appreciated when you talk about in the value terms, but if you take a look at the tangible element or the differentiating factor for any business, it is actually the people, not the fixed assets. Because when a company goes bankrupt, it is mostly because of inefficient labor or mostly because of the bad management practices that are existing within the company. It is therefore it very important to understand the role of human resources for the success of a economy. Traditionally, when we talk about labor rights, the emotion that it evokes is that of revolution or a sort of a disturbance for capitalist activity. That is the general perception. But if you take a look at the example of Japan, they have prospered immensely. The reason for such prosperity, according to the writer, is because they have invested heavily in human resources. Now, what happens to a skillful employee when he is not respected in an economy? He leaves the job to a different place. Similarly, when you don't train your employees, the productivity of the entire ecosystem comes down. In a country where we have such abundance, it is only important to focus upon labor productivity because we want to maximize the maximum possible output that we can achieve within the window where we can reap our demographic dividend, that is getting the maximum output from the age group of 15 to 55 people, the maximum possible output. So this should be the ideal for any economy when it is entering into a stage of demographic transition where the youngest population is in a majority. So it is expected by 2037 India will reach a peak. So we have a window of just 10 to 15 years to work upon our human resources, kill them, and ensure that all our policies turn into productive activities. Otherwise, we'll be having a demographic disaster wherein a large number of people are depending on a very few activities. Often, technology is accused of taking away a lot of jobs. But if you take a look at the kind of technological evolution throughout history, one kind of job has actually replaced another kind. So it is the job of a government or an economy to make this transition as smoothly as possible. If you are not focusing on skilling the economy and coupling it with value education, we'll be moving towards a phase of economic disaster. In the present scheme of things, in the business as usual approach, the governments have been focusing on wealthy investors because they have the capabilities to influence electoral politics, because unless and until investment does not come into an economy, there is no economic growth. So this is a vicious cycle where the government is forced to listen to the investors and the rights of the downtrodden are taking a backseat. But it is in the political will and the negotiating capability of the government to safeguard the rights of workers that will create any sort of a difference in the future. Because if the unemployed youth hold the government responsible for their lack of employment, it is ultimately the government which will be bearing the brunt. So, in order to avoid this situation, it is up to the governments to negotiate with the various capitalists who are involved in this economy and arrive at a middle ground where both the capitalists as well as the government and the workers are equally happy. And that will happen only when the companies invest in the skill set of the employees, and governments cooperate with the companies to ensure that the ecosystem for such skill development and also the other business activities is taken care of. So we always talk about structural reforms, but when we talk about structural reforms with respect to labor, it is mostly seen as pro capitalist rather than pro labor. It is in this context, this author argues that it is important to maintain a balance between the labor as well as the industrialist class to ensure that there is a sustainable growth going forward. That is the gist of this article. The second article for the day is titled Star Status, and it is important from prelims perspective. So you just have to know that Election Commission of India has actually revoked the star campaigner status of Kamal Nath, former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. Now, who is a star campaigner can be a question for your prelims exam. Generally, a star campaigner is a famous personality like a political leader who is having a wide following in a particular geography, or it can be a film star or any celebrity who is vouching for a political party to campaign for their agenda during a political meeting or even during election canvassing. Political parties can have star campaigners up to 40 people, and the advantage of this star campaigner tag is whatever may be the expenditure that is incurred on the star campaigner for a candidate in a constituency. Say for example, there is a constituency X. In that constituency, one of the candidate is contesting for the seat of an MLA, but he decides that he can use the charisma of a celebrity or a political leader, and ask him to campaign for him. So if the star campaigner, as recognized by the political party which the candidate is standing from, canvasses for the candidate, the expenditure incurred in that campaigning is not added to the candidate. That is to say, um, according to the Model Code of Conduct, there are certain limits which are imposed by Election Commission on the expenditure during elections. So star campaigners and the money spent on them are exempted from this. So if you revoke the star campaigner tag to any person, political parties have certain implications because they will have to spend very less amount during political campaigning, and there is always a complaint that in the context of the increased inflation, the limits have not been revised for a long time according to the Model Code of Conduct. So in this context, when the Election Commission of India has actually revoked this status, Chief Justice Bobde has actually said that Election Commission of India does not have such a right, because according to the section 77 of the Representation of People Act 1951, political parties have the decision to decide who a star campaigner can be. But this is a very shallow argument according to the writer of this article, because it is an inherent fact that the purpose of having a model code of conduct is to ensure that a certain election moral code is followed, and they don't breach that. Therefore, judiciary should not intervene in the functioning of the election commission. Therefore, it is important for the election watchdog to have certain amount of autonomy when it comes to the conducting of elections and model code of conduct. You have to remember that model code of conduct is not a statutory thing, or it is not a statutory code. It is just a code that is agreed by political parties across the country to ensure a smooth running of the election which is conducted. What happens if the model code of conduct is breached? There are certain provisions within the IPC, and Representation of People Act have certain provisions which use the provisions of IPC when model code of conduct is breached. Therefore, this does have certain significance and will definitely act as a deterrent for candidates who are resorting to illegal means to get votes. Therefore, in this entire scenario, as far as the election ethics and election conducting is concerned, Election Commission of India, as per Article 326, has every right to revoke the status of star campaigner according to the principles laid down in the Constitution. That is what this article is trying to say.